It's time to introduce our guest today. I'm so excited to have him on. He's actually from my neck of the woods here in the PNW, Pacific Northwest, and he is someone whose creative journey is anything but ordinary, and there is nothing he hasn't done over his career. And God's placed him throughout the different things he's done. He is a best-selling, award-winning Christian author, a storyteller with nearly 40 books under his belt, which have captured readers all over the world. And his work is now being his way onto the big screen. How cool is that? But before that, he spent years as a professional voiceover actor. He brings characters to life. His experiences in the booth, his resilience to the industry, different changes, willingness to reinvent himself have shaped into who he is today. And what I love most about his story is how deeply it's rooted in perseverance, faith, and his calling. He is someone who's walked through challenges, pushed through a discouragement, and came out with a renewed sense of purpose. I'm excited to dive into his journey, his creativity, and the hope that fuels his work. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast, Mr. Aaron Ryan.
Welcome to the show. A good friend of mine now, Pacific Northwesterner as well. Aaron, how are you, sir? Welcome to Chit
I'm
Chat.
doing. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Excited to talk with you today, kind of hear your story a little bit. And before I dive into my show with interviews and the who's who, I like to just kind of start the show off easy with some icebreaker questions. Nothing too difficult. There's no right or wrong answer. But the first one I have for you, if you had a theme song or a theme kind of instrumental piece, when you walked into a room, what's playing when you walk into a room, Mr. Aaron Ryan?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because I just received an intro on another podcast maybe 3 months ago. I thought it was a real chorus that the guy had contracted out. It's like an operatic singer who introduces me. I had no idea those things could be made via AI. My great interest would be to have an Inspector Gadget parody, like da 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 da. It's Aaron Ryan. Da, 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 da. I think that'd be so cool. But I think until that point, and AI masters it, probably Rocky, the theme from Rocky, because I've adapted and overcome many times.
I love when I'm out walking, I'll throw in some songs from Rocky 4, where they're training in the snow, Rocky's in the snow, and Ivan's getting all the steroids and the machines. I love that soundtrack piece where it's just an instrumental. And I think the older I get, the more I love instrumental pieces.
Yeah. I listen to them all the time. It's paused right now because of the interview, but I find it very stimulating to play movie soundtracks to my left here when I'm working on a book. It conjures up imagery. It helps kind of really more concretely helps me to envision the scene and see it cinematically and therefore write it cinematically. So I do it all the time.
Second one is, what's a piece of encouragement that you received years ago that you still carry and resonate with you on a daily basis?
So it was this one right here, and I loved it so much I had a plaque made out of it. You probably can't read it, but this phrase has rocked my world, and it is so formative for creators. It is from a former casting agent and entrepreneur. She said, "Someone's endorsement of you, or lack thereof, has very little to do with your trajectory." And I needed to hear that. I missed it when she first said it, and I was like, wait, say that again? And I had to note it down, but it's like, as a creator, we desperately want people to love what we make. We want the sales of the books as an author. We want the good reviews. We want the opportunities to connect and speak. And when those don't come, it can be depressing. But my trajectory, I'm a voice actor, I should know how to say that. Regardless of whether or not I get those, my trajectory is forward, period.
Awesome. What are your 3 favorite movies you could watch over and over again? I have a few. I'll let you go first. But if it's on TV, you're like, oh yeah, I'm watching it again. Maybe you pull the DVD out or the VHS out. Who knows?
Yeah. So on top, well above the rest, far and away, in the lead is Aliens, 1986 Aliens, James Cameron, Sigourney Weaver. I'm sure it is yours as well. Like, just that movie has absolutely everything, and it's just, I love it so much. I probably could watch Dumb and Dumber over and over and over again. The movie has no lull. It is brilliant comedy all the way through. It has no lull. I love it. And I really love watching on the dramatic side that is more of a non-sci-fi base. I love A Few Good Men. I could watch that movie over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many more. Massive Lord of the Rings fan, you can see the evidence right here. I could watch those three, but they are three, so they take up all three of those answers.
For myself, it's Galaxy Quest. I
Yes.
that one
Yes.
a dozen times, and
Yep.
it's sad that Alan Rickman passed away. I know they want to do a sequel to that, and but that one, For the Love of the Game, Kevin Costner throwing a no-hitter against the Yankees. It's always nice when the Yankees lose.
Yes.
It's a great storyline for that one, and probably Dante's Peak.
Yeah, that's a
that
good one.
Good God, at least 12, 13 times. And that's still, I'm a Pierce guy, and this, I love that the movie. I watched behind the scenes how they made it. It was really, really cool.
Wasn't that there was an alternative like Volcano or something like that? But Dante's Peak is the one with Pierce Brosnan and
Yes.
Linda Hamilton.
Yes, Volcano was
I like
in L.A.
I like that one way better.
Yeah, so
Dante's
yeah.
Peak.
The realism of having a volcano basis in LA was kind of, I just love Dante's Peak. It made memories too. My wife and I took her aunt to see it on her birthday years ago. She just sadly passed last year, but kind of memories of seeing that movie in the theater with her and my wife was really, really, really fun.
That's great.
Favorite dessert?
Oh, I am such a candy holic. So candy is a constant dessert. Runts in particular. I'm just on a runts tear lately, especially the banana ones. But I love orange sherbet ice cream. I love sherbet ice cream, but in particular orange sherbet ice cream. So good. And I have to say, you just took a sip, so I'm going to as well. This is dessert. This is crack cocaine for me. This is the coffee is
We'll drink it. Cheers.
This is butter toffee coffee with hazelnut creamer, a few mini marshmallows, a stevia, and then the holidays, I'll actually put some eggnog in there as well. I like my coffee light brown, and this is it.
I just had a little bit of French vanilla, and I call it good. Share a little bit about yourself, where you're from. I know where you're from.
Looked like it froze for a second.
Might not know where you're from. We can about throw a rock at each other. I think you're across the pond and over at Seattle area, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think it froze a little bit. Were you asking where I was from?
Yes, you can just kind of. I know where you're from. I said visit Seattle, but you've been here for a while. You lived here a while, or?
Yeah, I grew up. So we've gradually migrated west. We head out west. But I grew up in Riverbend, North Bend, Snoqualmie, which is east of Seattle, and it's right like North Bend and Riverbend are really kissing the Cascades. So right as you're about ready to cross over the Snoqualmie Pass, right before that you hit Riverbend, and I love that. It was a small town. We literally lived in a little bowl indentation in the hillside, and you had to take a real steep drive to get down there. It was very small town minded, like the John Cougar Mellencamp song. And then we just gradually kept migrating more west, lived in Bellevue, Issaquah, finally Seattle, and now south of that. So, but this is home, definitely home.
Born and raised in Arkansas, Navy brought me here. The wife kidnapped me. That's my story.
That's better than mine. It's like I'm the one who writes stories, but I'll take that one.
Your career has spanned all kinds of things. I'm going to throw out a few. We'll discuss a couple today, but nod your head or tell me if I'm wrong. But see, voiceover work, a wedding photographer, stage performer, musician, producer, rock and pop artist, executive assistant, service manager, paper boy, CSR, poet, tech support, worship leader. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, probably. I mean, because the list just goes on and on and on. But yeah.
What of all those things you've done, what's two or three, or you look back going, wow, I did that. Maybe it's a short period, maybe it's a long period, but some things you came across and did in your life going, that was pretty awesome. I did blank.
Yeah. Well, I loved being a worship leader. I mean, as a Christian in church, there's nothing better than leading God's people into worship. And the reason I say that is I was a worship leader, but I was also a stage performer. I was a Christian rock, musician. And so there's a huge difference in singing at people versus singing with people.
Mhm.
And I prefer the latter at 7 days of the week and twice on Sunday. Literally, quite literally, as a worship leader. But so it was a huge privilege. What an honor to be able to do that. Loved leading worship. I really enjoyed being a service manager for a furniture installation company. It was like, it blew me away that they promoted me there. It was like, you sure you got the right person? But it really, that job, and it was just a job. I'm not listing the vocations here, but that job really opened my eyes in a grandiose way to business acumen, to management, to goal setting, to people and human resources and things like that. And it was a huge measure of trust that was extended to me graciously on the part of the owner of the company. It blew me away, and I think I served there for about a year and a half. One of the last few jobs I had prior to leaving the workforce and entering self-employment. But it taught me a lot for that self-employment. I'm forever grateful.
Today we'll be chatting about a couple of them. Author, you have many books behind you that you have written, and one of some of the I love that I would love to dive into one day. Actually have. I'll share about that story. Is the voiceover work. I'm a big fan of video games, and I try to picture whose voice is that, and I'm like, oh, I know that. That's so and so from so and so, and so I love kind of connecting. Share your first experiences where you began shaping your creative side in writing, and when was that? When did you get the bug to write?
So I have like three different origin stories. They're all roughly around the same time, but I was given an assignment in second grade. We all were by Mrs. Walker. Hi, Mrs. Walker. And it just was basically write a little novella. And so I wrote a little novella that was called The Electric Boy. I didn't know what copyright infringement meant at that age. It's a huge ripoff of the novelization of E.T. by Alan Dean Foster. I'm just going to say that. So bring on the lawsuits. But again, I was 7, so plausible deniability. But I wrote it, and I remember using construction paper for the cover, 3-hole punch college line paper, crude stick figure drawings, and I held it in my hands when I was done. I turned it around and showed people the cover, and I was like, look what I did. I wrote a book. Holy cow. It really opened my eyes.
Mhm.
Very, very a lightning bulb moment. The next one is, I completely forgot about this. My mom showed me some newspaper clippings that she had that was of me in a young authors club at age 10. I had forgotten all about it. There I am in the Snoqualmie Valley Record in the Young Authors Club, and here's my picture, and here's with everybody else. I went, oh my gosh, just propelled down memory lane. And so I'm going, of course I'm an author. I mean, look at that. There's the proof. And then I read The Lord of the Rings for the very first time at at my budding reading ability. Blew my mind. The world building, the robust creation, the high stakes, the character development. It really taught me what you could do as an author. And I was like, I want to do that. So, yeah.
And fast forward now, you've written how many 40 plus books? 40 books?
Well, I'm working on number 45, but really it's actually 48 because I just penned 3 more kids books. I've got 1 series of kids books already, and I'm working on a new trilogy of kids books that will release before this one probably. And so 45, 6, 7, and then 48 is a horror novel. Very different genres, but I have to write when I get a wild hair to write.
How do you come up with genres or themes for a book? Going, I'm going to write it. And do you stay on track with one book, or do you bounce around and add it together pieces? How does that work for you when you're writing a book?
It's a really good question, actually. I've got a few things here, but for those who are joining us visually, this is my latest release. This is the Talisman Saga. This is all three books in one hardcover. This one and this one, Nexus and Halcyon, the second and third, the finale. Oh my gosh, the hardest books I've ever written. It was sincere writer's block for this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to take an off ramp from the fiction highway. I do that when I'm having trouble with a fictional novel, and I will get an idea for a nonfiction book. In this case, it was something I say to my boys: "You are my whole earth," and it's actually, you can see it right behind me right here.
Mm-hmm.
I decided, I'm having so much trouble writing this book. It's a fictional novel, so why don't I do what comes naturally? Take an off ramp, take a breather, write something that I'm far more passionate about, which is my sons. And that just, your fingers flow, your mind just works. And it reminds you that you can actually do this, like, oh, see, these still work, and this still works, and this still works. So I do get a compulsion to create an image first, a book cover. So I'm an anomaly in that regard. I like to reverse engineer my books. I come up with a compelling cover, and then I want to write a compelling story to match that compelling cover. Most people will get the idea for the story, they'll write it, and then they'll create the cover. For example, the current work in progress is called Blood Echoes, and the tagline for Blood Echoes is twins always finish each other's sentences, even in prison. Right? That came from a dad joke flip calendar. That tagline, that gave me an idea for a story. And so I was like, okay, create the cover, and then I'll create the story to work back that way. But, yeah. Follow the breadcrumb trail.
My wife is a huge reader. I am not an avid reader. I do devotions. And she can visualize the character and the scenery. It's hard for me sometimes. I think I read one book, In the Line of Fire, with Clint Eastwood. That movie, he's a Secret Service, and when I watched it, going, this is not anywhere close to what I envisioned, But I read it from front to back. I was out at sea in the Navy, and so I don't read a lot, but I trying to get a little better in that. Just kind of visualize the different sceneries, and it's amazing how people can just do that and pull out ideas and go. Like last night, I'm working on your interview. I just got a mind block. I was tired. Maybe I was like, I get up this morning going, oh yeah. I just felt refreshed. Like, oh yeah, I can do this and answer this. And so I feel you with the writer's block and even the podcast block too sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The writer's block is unique to writers, of course, but it's basically just a block, whatever your creative pursuit is. And there's ways around that. There's ways to conquer that, overcome it, to take a break from it. Mm-hmm. The best thing, honestly, is just really to walk away, and refresh your mind, give yourself a break. It's kind of like when you wander into the kitchen and, you open the fridge and you're standing. I do this now all the time because I'm 52, and I look at it. I have no idea what I came in here for. No idea. But the best thing to do is go away. And the minute you walk away into the living room, oh, I remember, it's string cheese. And then it's like, okay, now it comes back to you.
You're a bestseller Christian author, longtime speaker. You wrote a sci-fi invasion series. You showed that a little bit. I think that's pretty awesome.
So that is my quintessential work. I've got all of them here, but this is the easiest one to lift up. This is the all-in-one 6 books in one paperback with a box set. I wanted to write a single novel. My wife and I watched I Am Legend with Will Smith. We'd seen it before.
Yep.
But I found myself, I'm more cinematically inspired than literarily inspired. So I found myself watching that movie and going, such a good precedent. It's a vaccine gone wrong that produces rabies. What if the precedent, however, was an alien invasion? Right? So my wheels started turning, and I love the beginning of that movie. It's so quiet. There's weeds growing up 10 feet through the cracks. There's lions roaming the street, and the zombies own everything, but at night. And I thought, well, what if it was an alien invasion where we're the ones underground because we have to hide from the Gorgons who own the surface? And it just, man, I was like 3 chapters into the book when I discovered there's a much larger story here and it split into a kind of a parallel storytelling track, and it grew. It just demanded. Before I knew it, I was writing a trilogy that then demanded 2 prequels and a sequel. The first one, so it's a hexalogy. Before I knew it, the first one actually has been adapted for the screen, and it's being pitched to streaming networks, and that just gets me absolutely jazzed. The potential possibilities there.
How did that go? Did someone call you, or someone, a friend of yours, call you, whoever, and say, "Aaron, what do you think about this?" Did your jaw hit the floor? Did you like, sure?
Well, yes and no. It's very flattering, first of all, when someone finds your work compelling enough to want to adapt it for the screen, and they see the potential of a production value in it. But as an author, we are besieged by scammers all the time. I get upwards of 30 emails every single day, and the number's growing, of scam attempts, and some of those have to do with, we'll adapt your book for the screen. They have no credentials, they have no registration with Hollywood, they have no affiliation whatsoever. So I was my what's the word you call it, like my radar was up. The red flags were going off, and I was like, okay, I got to vet this guy. So I looked him up. He is on IMDb. He is a Hollywood fellow, they call it. He won the Nichols Fellowship along with 5 other people. There's his screenplay on IMDb. So he checked out. I looked up the price to adapt a film to screen and to market it. His price was commensurate with that, in that range. And he wanted to do an introductory Zoom meeting, which a scammer would never do, So I was like, I have to do this. If I don't do this, I will regret it my entire life. And it has been the topmost thing in my authoring industry and career that I've been so excited about, to see this being pitched to streaming networks. So he did a great job with it too.
Share some tips on avoiding scammers. I mean, it's so easily done in a click, and you can really get into a rabbit hole and trouble, committing to something that you didn't know you did. Share about some of the red flags that you came across, and so other people out there know, hey, I should look for this if this pops up.
Well, first of all, be a cynic. That's the very first thing I would say. You need to develop some cynicism, because no one out there on the internet is your friend unless you're absolutely 100% positive that it is him, and perhaps you guys even have a code word that between each other. If it arrives in your inbox unsolicited and it comes from a Gmail address in particular, it is largely 99% a scam. If it is laden, as an author, but this is pertinent to us, if it's laden with flattery or flowery language, or feels like it could possibly have been written with AI, it's a scam. If they are offering you a service and they have no website, they say they have clients, but I need to see them, please. They say they have a website and an established clientele. I need to see that as well, please. The biggest thing you should do is do not reply whatsoever. I have replied and engaged these idiots. They're charlatans in a Nigerian boiler room. And it's the worst thing I did, because I started receiving death threats for challenging them, for speaking out against them, for not going with their services, and death threats so extreme and so vulgar and so specific to myself and my family that I had to forward them to the FBI and get them involved. So don't reply ever. Don't reply. Look for Gmail, look for flowery language and flattery in the email, and just if it's a publisher, if it's a book club, as an author, we get these book club emails. Hey, we want you to be part of our book club. There's a nominal fee. Book clubs won't charge you a fee. I'm a literary agent. I can represent you. There's a nominal fee. Literary agents won't charge you a fee. I'm a publisher. It's always about money. I'm a publisher. We can get you great exposure for a nominal fee. If a fee is involved, run. It's all about money, always.
Yeah. I did some research, watched some of your videos. I love you to just try to break down structural integrity and share about that a little bit. I was really impressed. I like that. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, I gotta bring that up. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, So I see things as an author and a voiceover artist. As a voiceover artist, I am entirely dependent on someone enjoying my audition enough to cast me. It's completely out of my hands, other than just simply doing the best job that I can. Same thing with authoring. All I can do is write a good book that I like and hope that other people like it as well. The rest is absolutely out of my hands. Now you can promote and you can market and you can bolster your image and put yourself out there, but it really is dependent on. I mean, the results are largely out of your hands. So that can be depressing. It can be deflating. You could have written the very best book in the world and no one will read it, and that's saddening. It literally hurts your heart. You have to have more structural integrity than those slights or those insults or whatever. And I love sharing the story of the Lucky Bill. I think it was World War II. He was carrying some ordnance and munitions, and they were shooting at it wherever it was. They were shooting at it, and when it landed, it was riddled with bullets. I think it was called the Lucky Bill, and it was riddled with bullets. And they said, there's no way that this plane should have stayed aloft as long as it did. There's no way it should have landed safely. There's no way. It was riddled with bullets like Swiss cheese. And the determination at the end, after a thorough examination of it, was that there was more structural integrity in the plane than there were bullets to bring it down.
Wow.
I love the parallel. So we can get the negative reviews on a book that you obviously didn't even read. You just left the negative review because my name's Aaron, and your ex-fiance or your ex-husband is named Aaron. Really?
Yeah.
And that can be so frustrating, but I have to have structural integrity to just keep moving forward. It's like, remember that Rocky scene in Rocky 6 where he's talking to his son and he's like, it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
And I love the song by Matthew Wilder, Ain't Nothing Gonna Break My Stride.
Yes.
So many times you get obstacles and you get things in your way, you're like, I'm still pushing through. I took a year off. I took 2025 off when there was some changes in the podcast, and came across Paul Racy, was share about in a second. And he's like, I love your content. Let's get together. And so that really kept me going. So what's your experience with that song personally? Has that helped you keep going when you want to quit, or maybe a obstacle in your way or something like that?
Yeah. Nobody gonna slow me down. Whoa, no, I got to keep on moving. First of all, I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s, and I will play, the kids will swear to this every time I'm making breakfast on Saturday. I'll say, I can't say her name because I'll activate her, but Alexa, play 80s rock or 80s pop. And I love 80s music. So Matthew Wilder is right in there. Ain't Nothing Gonna Break My Stride. My now 10-year-old, we would go to a place called Elevated Sports in Bothell every Thursday when he was just a toddler. And it was a huge maze. It was like, 2 stories tall, huge maze. And on the way there, he always wanted to hear, Dad, play Nothing Break Stride. And he loved that song. He just loved the the offbeat organs and keys. I think that's just that could be an anthem for my life. Some friends once said of me, you could drop Aaron in a desert and he'd still find a way to make money. I've adapted so many times in my career from different things that were either failing or no longer desirable. And then I became a self-made entrepreneur. You have to resolve that nothing will break your stride as a self-made entrepreneur. So
yeah. I work a full-time job. I do podcasting, good shows a couple of times a month, but I'm constantly doing research on people, and I add music from musicians from around the world, full songs. And my goal is to do this full-time one day, and just to meet people, hear their story. And authors come to you, young authors, and say, reach out for advice or be a mentor. Or if they do, what kind of advice do you give young and upcoming authors to, get their words on paper?
Yeah, no, I love that. Yes, they do. And I'm very flattered when they do it. I'm going to be speaking at the Southwestern Writers Conference in Vancouver coming up in September, I believe it is, and really excited about that. It's like we talked about scammers. That's one thing that they really need to be aware of. talked about, figuring out what kind of writer you are. Are you a pantser or a plotter? Do you fly by the seat of your pants, or do you just plot everything out? Are you organic, or more outlined?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key things that they always ask is how do I get started? It's just and who am I to author a book and put it out there? And that comes directly from imposter syndrome. So I've never personally struggled with imposter syndrome, but I have struggled with analysis paralysis. And a lot of people, there are people I know that just they want something, they're excited about it, they want to do it, but they get stuck in all of the schematics of it, of analyzing it and over analyzing it and chewing on it over and over. When really you have to just be Nike and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there. Like actually, Paul Racy. One of my favorite phrases that he's said of me, and that there are many. He's warped the titles of virtually all of my songs, and I just love it. Like Scarlet was a song I wrote. He loves to call it Harlot, because he's just that's Paul. But he said, you're too stupid to think you can't do it. Or you're too stupid to think you can't do something, or something like that. And I love that. It feels like a dog with a bone, and dogs have courage, and they go out and they just do whatever it is. Be a dog. Ruff, go out there and have the courage to at least try. It's a wide running river, and there is a current, but you have to at some point decide to, that whole poop or get off the pot phrase. You've got to put your toe in that running stream and see how it feels, and then go further and see how that feels, and see how that feels, and then before you know it, you learn how to swim.
My sister-in-law, Tori Dees, just finished writing her book. I don't want to say the name because I don't want to. It's a word, and then I'll message you the word, the book. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. But she just finished writing a book. And for someone who's just finished writing a book, and what are some final stages in getting it reviewed and published? And either the traditional publishing or self-publishing, or what's the best way for someone to get their book out and to be heard, and for people to hear it, read it?
That's such a great question. And it's the conundrum that everyone faces. Do I go with a trad pub, which is a traditional publisher, or do I go self-publishing? If you're an entrepreneur and you thrive on freelance, go self-publishing. I highly encourage you to go self-publishing. If you can't wait, if you're impatient, if you struggle with impatience, go self-publishing. The reason for that is, as a self-published person and an entrepreneur, I have so much more creative control. I retain all rights to what I've created. I can choose my branding, my marketing team, my editing team. I control the royalties. I can command higher royalties. There's that part. If you struggle with impatience, go with self-publishing, because a traditional publisher, man, much quicker time to market as a self-pubbed author. So traditional publishers, man, I'm working on book number 45 that I'm going to put out. If I was traditionally published, I think maybe half of those would be out by now. And I've been working on this for years. Maybe even less would be out by now. They just take a longer time. So decide traditional publisher or self-publisher. Decide what kind of writer you want to be. Do you want to be more organic and see where you go? And if that doesn't work, Command Z your way out of there and then redirect. Or do you want to be more like outline every single thing, and go with bullet points and flow charts and all that stuff? Figure out your branding right away, because I love Oscar Wilde's phrase, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken."
Mm-hmm.
The world doesn't need another J.R.R. Tolkien or Tom Clancy or Michael Crichton or James S.A. Corey or Suzanne Collins or Marie Lu, any of those, Madeleine L'Engle, Tolkien. They don't need it. They need you, because you have a unique voice and you are the you that anyone will be. Be you, be your own voice and bring that to the market. So there are some things to consider.
My two daughters went with my wife's sister, and they they're both photographers. We went out and did some photo shoots for the cover of the book, and it was amazing. It went way out in Port Townsend. It's kind of foggy, and so I love covers of books, because I like some of yours. It's pretty awesome. But it's so cool how they kind of just made the cover just kind of pop. It was really, really cool. Let's get your thoughts on AI. I talked to some
Yeah.
musicians over the years, over the past few months. AI has helped musicians and hurt musicians. And how is it with authors? My wife reads a lot of books. She goes, "This is kind of AI-ish." You get over the verbiage, or what are your thoughts? Does it help authors maybe get some bullet points in their head to get rolling, or
Yeah.
does it hurt authors?
Well, I think there's two different forms of AI, and there's the one of them is assistive AI, and the other is generative AI. I'm all for assistive AI. I've used it myself, although I didn't really like the results I came up with, or Grok rather came up with, I think is who I used. I'm not a fan of AI because it has really eviscerated my voiceover career. It has killed off long-standing relationships that I've had because the producers have either been themselves replaced or they've been counseled to simply use Respeecher or 11 Labs or Speechalo or SpeechOcean. So, no more human voice actors. I've seen our income just erode
Mm.
because of the net effect of AI. So I'm not a fan of AI, especially generative AI. AI also in the authoring industry, it pits authors against authors. You wrote this with AI. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And M dashes are a dead giveaway. Bullet point style writing is a giveaway. A marked departure from your previous writings is a giveaway. Writing style is a giveaway. The cost of the environment is great for the amount of water it takes to cool the servers that process this kind of stuff. And it's called artificial. We have to just reckon with that fact. It is called artificial intelligence. I was given natural, creative intelligence. I pride myself on using these two things right here to write my books because they are a reflection of me. And one of the best quotes I've ever heard was from an editor who posted, I wish I remember her name. She posted on LinkedIn, she said, "Are you using AI to write your books? If so, stop that. I cannot bring out your voice if it wasn't there to begin with."
Mm.
And man, I love that because again, the Oscar Wilde quote, "Be yourself and bring your own unique voice."
Yeah.
AI is responsible, generative AI is responsible for the dumbing down of society, the theft of creative works, the misinformation that abounds because of it. And you see what's happening right now with C-Dance creating a video of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise having a rooftop fight that neither one of them are in, neither one of them consented to. Scarlett Johansson's voice from the movie Her being harvested and then created to train an LLM model without her consent, and they're being sued as well. It's an unregulated Wild West that really needs some guardrails around it.
Yeah, sure. What advice would you give someone who feels called to write but just doesn't know where to start? They have a story, they have some creativity, but just like you get pen on paper going,
Yeah. Well, some of the stuff we talked about earlier, but run it past someone. And I'm not talking your mom. Your mom's gonna, naturally approve. Find a Simon Cowell in your life. My mom said it was good. Well, okay. But find a Simon Cowell in your life who is a devil's advocate, who's going to mercilessly fork over your script and cut it to ribbons and tell you what's wrong with it. Find a good editor that is willing to, and my wife is one of them, who's willing to give you a sample review of 3 to 5 pages, whatever it is, and show you how you could better your writing. She has helped me say so many things so much better in my novels because she's a wordsmith. I'm the writer, but she's the wordsmith, And so, and part of my thing is impatience. I can't wait to get it out to the market. I need to get it edited before I get it out to the market.
how has faith shaped your writing and sense of purpose? You want to say a good storyline, a good story. How has it helped you over the years?
Did you say fate or faith?
Faith.
Yeah. Well, faith. So I'm a Christian, and that is going to come out naturally in my writings, not necessarily overtly, as in faith, as in the strictest sense of the Christian meaning of the word, but maybe it takes the iteration of hope, which is synonymous with faith. So in Dissonance, I like to call Dissonance my my covert Christian saga, because there's a character who gets saved at the end. There is a character in here who has leapt from this book to different books in my other in my library, Her name is Pastor Rosie Campion. She's Mexican. She's a Latino septuagenarian, and she's filled with faith and wisdom. And so she's in Dissonance, but she's also in the Slide, Forecast, the Phoenix Experiment, The End, the Talisman series. She keeps popping up, and you're like, I know you. She's the representation of faith. But here's the starkest example. So actually two, and I'll try to be really quick. The End, I was never called to write any of these. I wanted to write them.
Okay.
But I was literally called to write The End Christian Dystopian Saga, You Are My Whole Earth, A Daddy's Love for His Sons, and God Is Not Santa, a prayer guide. Not a guide, but a book on, a stronger prayer life. I was never called to write anything except for those three, and I really felt called by the Lord to write them. When I wrote Dissonance, I do incorporate marginal profanity. I do want verisimilitude and gritty reality, but I'll never use the F-bomb, ever. I'll never take the Lord's name in vain. I don't use, graphic drugs, sex, bullying. I don't need it, and my readers don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really convicted. About even just saying S-H-I-T. When a Gorgon is going to come eat you, you don't go, oh, shucks. You might say something else, a little bit more colorful.
Yeah.
But I was convicted by it. So I wrote an afterword that said, man, I'm sorry if you know me, if you're a Christian and I'm a Christian and you know that, I'm sorry. I wanted verisimilitude, but this was hard for me to use this. And I want you to know that I was convicted by that. My kids are going to read it someday,
Yeah.
And Dad, didn't you tell us not to swear? And my out is like, well, I didn't. The camera did. The character did. So, I'm innocent.
As I said earlier, voiceover work. I auditioned years ago. A buddy of mine took me to the studio. I auditioned for Affleck the Duck. I have been a voiceover guy for a long time. Don Elefontaine, I believe his name was. He did it in a world, in a commercial. I just been drawn into voiceover. How did you get, into voiceover? What was your first job you did in voiceover work?
Well, it was doing voice greetings, voicemail greetings for people on the side. It was fun, but I got into voiceovers accidentally back in '93. I was working as a telemarketer, tell no one. I worked at a company calling businesses on behalf of the local radio station and selling them PSAs. So public service announcements that the business would then sponsor, right? So we'd say, hey, Jack, hey, it's Aaron Ryan calling on behalf of KPLZ. How you doing? And the first thing they say is, oh, what did I win? And so they always do that. But then we read them a sample of the copy, for instance, encouraging parents to use a kid code so that they're to prevent child abduction.
Mm-hmm.
Good sound advice brought to you as a courtesy by Joe's Plumbing. For the very best in plumbing, call blah, blah, blah. And so I would read them the copy, play a little sound bed, through a cassette tape piped through the phone. And I read it to someone and they go, that sounds great. We'll buy, but only if you read. And I was like, oh, hold please. He wants me to read. Can I read this? And I had to ask the manager. But man, I got into the studio. I slapped the headphones on. I read it. I heard myself coming back to the cans and went, I like this a lot. It morphed, though. It really morphed into music from there because I'd always loved to sing, and I diverted from voiceovers into music almost immediately.
Okay.
Released my first album in '97 and worked with Paul on that album. So
Paul Racy. Paul Racy does a lot of editing behind the scenes for me. He connected with me a while back, and he goes, "I love what you do, and love your encouragement. I just love encouraging people, hearing people's story." So he does a lot of scenes behind the scenes for me. I just send all the pieces together. He just makes it all flow. And he's doing getting on his radio station pretty soon as well. And so share your experiences with Paul Racy. We'll give him a little shout out as well.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure he's watching. Yeah, he'll see this when he edits this as well.
The duration of this podcast just elongated. Like it's elastic so much. I have so many fond memories of Paul. It sounds like he's dead. This is not an obit. I love Paul so much. He's the brother from another mother. He is such a dork. And I love that because I am as well. And you can have these conversations that you attempt to be serious with all sincerity. I want to have a serious conversation with you, Paul. And right in the middle, he can completely disarm all sincerity that I've built up to that point, and just with one liner, one little silly, one dorky one liner, and it's gold. It's comedic gold. I've seen him on the stage in Italy play guitar like nobody's business. I've seen him tear up guitars on stage in concerts that we've done together. Sorry, I just flipped you off. I've seen him go before a live audience and do live comedy and do it well. I love how he relates to people. I love the jack of all trades that he is. And I love having him in my life. I said earlier, maybe off camera, that I don't have a good relationship with my older brother. And God repays you for the years that the locusts have eaten. God over and abundantly repaid me with Paul. He's the older brother from another mother that I love with all my heart. Love him to death. Love you, Paul. Mwah!
Yeah. I was just when I met him and Carl Ruse, a friend of mine, who kind of got me going again. I took a year off, and I did audio podcast for 3 years. And podcasting has really helped me slow down a little bit. I'm from Arkansas. I talk really fast. So over the years, it's kind of helped me slow down a little bit and think and process. But it was so hard doing interviews, audio. I couldn't see when you're breathing, you're thinking. But Paul said, we can do this Google Meets, try it this way. And so much better seeing faces and breaths. And so I really thank him for kind of getting me back on the rails. And I've done over 150 shows podcasting and meeting people around the world. So thanks to him for kind of pushing me back on the tricycle, if you will, and said, hey, go for it. I'll help you out if you need help.
I'm going to call him. I'm going to give him a word that maybe just came to me. I've heard it described to other people, but Paul is a kingmaker. Paul makes kings, and he has, Paul knows my story. It's not sunshine and roses. We all go through different things, and Paul has stuck by me on both sides of the divider line, the omnibus or the Rubicon, I guess is what it was. And he is a kingmaker. He comes alongside and he takes the knowledge that he has and the drive that he has and helps you whittle away the things that you don't need and shave it down to a nicety and give you this presentation that, like, when I did Servant, an album in '94, it was a commercial success, but not an artistic failure. It was good. But Captive, Paul produced as the producer on that album in 2010, and that was not a commercial success per se, but it was an artistic success because Paul was at the helm. And my latest CD, probably my swan song CD called Human, he was a huge factor in helping me to really narrow down what I wanted to do and perfect it. And he helped make me a king through so many processes in my life. That's what he does.
That kind of goes to my next question, and you probably might answer it. Who's encouraged you or inspired you throughout your career? I'm guessing Paul, probably your wife over the years. Any other people who come beside you, send you some words of encouragement, or say, you know what, that was you were a knucklehead, kind of called you out. People in your life to really kind of give you a motivation to keep going, not to quit. Folks like that in your life?
No, just Paul.
Perfect.
That's the easy answer, right? No, definitely my wife. Behind every successful man is a successful woman. She's my backbone. I have, even something like the impartation of that little quote that I shared earlier about the trajectory. I'm a voice actor. I should be able to say trajectory, but I still can't. But yeah, Liz sharing me with that one quote. I've got some great people around me that have been incredibly supportive of me as an author, both with ARC readers, advanced reader copies, and ALC listeners, advanced listener copies. I've got a guy named Vance who is a rabid dissonance fan. These are the dissonance books up here. And he has helped those really come to light. Walker has empowered me with connections to help make these really have some verisimilitude. And there's a new guy at my new church he's listened to all of the dissonance saga, And every Sunday, he's like, I got a bone to pick with you. And I'm going, who did I kill off in the novel this time? But he listens to them and he immerses himself in those. His name is Craig. And I'm just so grateful for, and Jeanette, a wonderful ARC reader who is like, you got a new book yet? Where's your new book? I need something to read. And I'm like, whoa down there, baby. But yeah, lots of people around me.
As we begin to wrap up, we could probably talk forever. I'm sure you have things to do, just like I do. Would you mind sharing some final words for us today of encouraging people, maybe people who might be stuck, maybe people who want to quit a project, thinking they're not good enough? The negative things in life that kind of draw us down. You can't. The world says you can't do this, you can't do that. A friend says, oh, you can't be a singer, you can't be a podcaster. Some words of encouragement to help someone kind of get out of that funk and keep moving forward. Like you said earlier, Matthew what's the water strong, getting that break my stride.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I love quotes and I make plaques. That's what I do. I say I'm a voice actor and an author, but really I just make plaques of inspirational quotes. This quote comes from a movie I like to pretend does not exist, and I think Paul will get mad at me when he hears this, but Star Wars 1, The Phantom Menace, just for the record. Jar Jar, all that stuff. But Qui-Gon Jinn says to a young Anakin Skywalker, your focus determines your reality. Mm. So I watched that a few years ago. Well, I watched it when it came out in 99, and that quote went right over my head. I watched it again in the late 2000s, or the aughts, I guess they're called. And I had to stop it and go, just like Liz's quote, like, what was that again? I replayed it. Your focus determines your reality. So I had it put on a quote right here. Mm-hmm. And, it's probably not going to see it because there's me. There it goes.
Yeah.
This quote, though, has been so formative in me because my focus was to become a self-made entrepreneur and no longer work for someone else's dream. Check. Then my focus was to become an award-winning videographer, wedding videographer. Check. 3 times in a row, I got the Best of Western Washington award. Then my focus was to get out of weddings. I didn't want to do them anymore and become a successful voice actor and have that pay for our mortgage and our cars and our trips and everything. Check. And then my focus is, now that I'm seeing voiceovers kind of erode because of AI and things like that, my focus has been not only to pivot back to authoring, but to be not a voice actor who also does authoring, but an author who also does voiceovers. Mm. And one day that script is going to flip, and because my focus is to be a best-selling author. That's already a check, but my focus is to have our books pay for our life, to have that be our vocation. So it's just a matter of time. And that quote, your focus determines your reality, that is my mantra. Find a mantra that works for you, if not that one. That's what I would say.
It's clear that God has woven creativity, purpose, and compassion into everything you do. And your journey is a reminder that, wherever God leads you, left or right, straight, back, wherever, just keeping him centered in all things, I say true north.
Yes.
He's placing you a gift. You've had many gifts over the years. So I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and joining me today, and just wishing you the best for future successes. I hope we can stay in touch and help share your books, or however I can inspire you or others who read your books. And I just love meeting people. Everyone has a story. And when you hear that story, what they've been through and gone through, it's always encouraging. So whatever season, God's faithful, period.
Yes.
And so thank you for this opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.